All right, so let's get into it. I tried to prop the phone up a little higher so that it works a little better. Trent Chesterfield. So a lot of work went into the concept of the character. The story revolves kind of, I got all these content warnings throughout my posts, and I did that because I like content warnings. I like to kind of give the reader a heads up about what's going to happen and what it is they're dealing with. So one of the content warnings that I immediately put up was that you're dealing with a amoral, bloody, exploitative, manipulative, murdering, self-destructive serial killer. And these behaviors and personalities weren't mine. They're not a reflection of me. They're not anything to do with me. And the concept that I had for him originally was mental health issues regarding psychopathy. What's the other one? Sociopath. But these terminologies aren't really used anymore, right? So they use a different terminology now, which, if I can see it, it's called antisocial personality disorder, and that kind of encompasses a lot of what I was thinking at the time. What's kind of neat is in order to get that information, I spoke with a therapist, a real therapist, and it kind of explained the concept of Trent and what I was going to do with him and what the concepts that I had with him were. And it was very vague at the time I started writing Trent. I had to do a lot of research on serial killers, what made them, what kind of typical history they had with it. And that's kind of how that went, with the help of a therapist, with the help of some basic research. I came up with the idea. Trent was, I put up a music, The Heart of Darkness, to kind of give you an idea that you're not dealing with the typical guy. He's not all there, and this is a continuous flow throughout the story. He often practices what we would call a mirroring effect, or mirror. He mirrors the behaviors of things that he sees on TV. He mirrors things that he reads in books or movies, things like that, to behave normally. And his life was just really bonkers, right? Like, right away there were issues with him. He saw a dead bird, and that kind of kicked off his need to see this kind of ending of life. So, unlike most serial killers, Trent's obsession came from the final thralls of death. He wanted to see that ending, that part that we would say where the soul leaves the body. That was kind of the underlining factor when dealing with him. And then we had to add in some things. His parents didn't really pay attention to him. They didn't notice that he was behaving this way. He moved on from birds and started testing different ways to end their lives. And then he kind of moved on from there and went to larger animals like cats and dogs. And again, all of this was ignored. And then to amplify his behavior, his oddities, I kind of jumped into school and gave him a stutter and made him underdeveloped for a child. And that pushed bullies at school and kind of really amplified his already antisocial behavior. Then, of course, you have some child abuse. His mother came down with, and you'll have to forgive me if I say this wrong, Munchkin, I really can't say it, syndrome by proxy. And this basically means that she wanted him to be sick. She needed him to be sick. It's an illness where they gradually poison or just keep their child sick all the time. When his father found out about stuff like this, the father, who was already abusive to the wife and child, ended up wrapping a belt around her neck and kind of dragging her out towards the police. And his intention wasn't really to kill her, it was more just his abuse getting out of control. And he ended up doing just that. He killed her, and he's serving a life sentence, which caused Trent to live alone or go to group homes. And he was too old to be adopted, so group homes didn't really help his demeanor at all. He ended up going to college under being a finance major, and my reasoning for this was Trent is not stupid. He's not he's not a ruthless person. Yes, he's a serial killer, but he's an intelligent one. And I kind of took that from American Psycho and Dexter and stuff like that. He immediately started investing, which I also did research on, in a company called Cadabra Inc. And I had him start pumping all his money into this company. He believed that online shopping in 2001 would really boom and become the next big thing. And for those of you that do know, Cadabra Inc. eventually became Amazon.com, and he had pumped so much money into this that his stocks kind of exploded, and he became a multi-millionaire. He sold a lot of his stocks, buyouts and so forth, but he still lives on dividends of his 2% in that company, plus he has some other stocks revolving around that. Ultimately, the original concept for Trent has changed as time progressed, but really I just wanted to show this aggressive, kind of not quite there childhood that really emphasized that he had problems as a child, and those problems were kind of ignored, right? And this made him not really grasp or distinguish moral behaviors between right and wrong. And not only that, he really suffered with social interactions. So he picked up lying, he picked up manipulation, and while he didn't start very well at this, he got much better at it. And eventually he started mirroring behavior that made him more socially acceptable, but you could always see cracks in his behavior. He wasn't always quite there. So that's kind of Trent Chesterfield in a nutshell, and I'll see you in the next video.